Welcome to your deep dive. You want to know how research, like all that academic stuff on leadership and company policies,
Yeah,
OBHRI,
so
actually changes how companies work?
right.
Like, does it really make a difference? That's what we're looking at today.
Using a really interesting article from the Academy of Management Perspectives.
Yeah, and it's a question more and more folks in the field are asking.
Definitely. Right.
So get this.
Okay.
They analyzed like over 4,000 articles
Wow.
from top journals over a decade. Think about that.
Mm.
And only 1.5% even mention how their research could actually change policies.
That's wild. What does that even mean for OBHRM then?
Well, it could mean a lot of things, none of them good, right?
Like what?
Well, students might start thinking, is this field even worth it?
Yeah, I could see that. If it's not actually changing anything.
And then managers and people who could actually use this stuff,
Right.
they might just ignore it.
Like, oh, that's just academics in their ivory tower.
Exactly. And other researchers from fields that, DO focus on policy,
Yeah.
they might see OBHRM as less important.
Less impactful.
Right. And the big one,
Funding.
funding. It's hard to get money for research that can't show real-world results.
Makes sense, yeah.
So the article, it's a little bit,
Depressing.
yeah, a little depressing.
But it's not all bad news, is it?
Definitely not. They defined areas where OBHRM, IS, informing policy, stuff that affects all of us.
Okay, good.
Like, take labor relations. This is really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Labor relations is always a hot topic.
The article talks about how, like, policies for family-friendly benefits.
Right, like parental leave, flexible hours, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It says those are only one piece of the puzzle.
Oh.
There's this whole other layer of, like, social norms at play.
Interesting. So just because a company offers something.
Doesn't mean people will actually use it.
Like, yeah.
You could have the best parental leave policy in the world,
Yeah.
but if everyone's expected to be online 24/7,
It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to take the full leave.
totally. It's that disconnect between the rule and,
The reality.
the reality. I bet we've all experienced that.
For sure. Makes you wonder how much thought went into those policies in the first place.
Right. Like, did they even look at the research? Another area where this connection matters is leadership.
Oh, leadership. That's always a big one.
The article shows how a boss's relationship with a company, which HR policies often shape, can affect everything.
Wait.
Employee commitment,
No.
even how well they do their job.
Whoa. So it goes all the way down the line.
It's a ripple effect. HR policies, even little ones, can shape the whole company culture.
That makes sense. Affecting how people feel about work, how well they do it.
Exactly.
And then there's training and development. That's huge.
Ooh. This is where I got really into the article. It's not just your basic HR training either.
Yeah.
They're talking about everything. Harassment prevention, sure. But also super specialized programs like for entrepreneurs with ADHD.
Wow. So specific.
Yeah. And the article emphasizes how tailored these programs can be thanks to, you guessed it, research.
So OBHRM research is helping create programs that really target certain groups' needs.
Exactly. So we've got these three big areas where research IS shaping policy: labor relations, leadership, and training and development.
Okay, so there are some good stuff happening.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it gets even better.
Better happen.
The article gives specific policy examples based on research.
Oh, cool. Real world stuff.
Real world stuff. Should we take a closer look at one?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see this research policy connection in action.
Okay, so let's stick with labor relations.
Yeah, good idea.
We were just talking about it, and there's this study that really,
Oh, yeah.
jumped out at me.
I think I know which one you mean. It's the one about, like, all those family-friendly benefits, right?
Yeah. Paid leave, flexible schedules, the whole shebang.
And what they found was,
Just because a company offers those things.
doesn't mean people will actually use them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It all comes back to that.
Culture, like the company culture.
Yeah. Culture eats strategy for breakfast or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's like a company can have the best intentions.
The best policies on paper.
But if the actual workplace, the environment, doesn't support those policies,
Well, for nothing.
totally useless. And this study, it really digs into why.
Social norms.
Social norms, yeah. Those unspoken rules,
The ones that, actually control how we behave at work,
Think about it. If taking a full parental leave
even though you're technically allowed.
is seen as, like, career suicide,
Nobody's going to do it.
nope. The fear of getting penalized, even if it's not, like, a direct thing,
It's powerful stuff.
super powerful. It becomes the norm.
It makes you wonder, how do these norms even, like,
Start?
yeah, like, where do they come from?
Is it the leadership? Company traditions? Or maybe just the whole industry itself, you know?
Probably a combo of everything.
Right. But what's really interesting is that the article.
It says managers can actually
You very
change things. Yeah. They can either make those norms stronger or, like, break them down.
Interesting.
So if a manager is openly encouraging people, like, hey, take your parental leave, it's important,
And they're doing it themselves, setting the example.
that sends a huge message.
Huge. So it's not just about having the policy, written down somewhere.
It's about actually living it, showing people it's okay to prioritize, family or whatever.
Without getting punished for it, right?
Yeah. No negative consequences. And this is where I think OBHRM research can be so helpful.
In what way?
It gives us, like, actual strategies based on evidence
Yeah.
to bridge that gap between the policy and what actually happens.
Between the words and the actions.
Exactly. This study we're talking about.
It gives companies some concrete things they can do, right?
Yeah. So let's say a company wants to make sure people are actually using these family-friendly benefits.
What should they do?
What's step one?
Step one, communicate those policies, like really clearly. Don't bury it in some huge employee handbook that nobody reads.
Make it easy to find, easy to understand.
Exactly. Transparency is key.
And then, we talked about this earlier,
Training.
training. Managers need to know how to talk about this stuff.
How to actually have those conversations about work-life balance, how to create a team culture that actually supports using these benefits.
Can't just be like a one-time thing either.
No, it's got to be ongoing.
Companies need to keep checking in, getting feedback from employees, figuring out what's working, what's not.
Always adjusting, always improving.
And the payoff, potentially, is huge.
Huge how?
When employees feel supported, when they know they can manage their work and their life,
They're happier,
more engaged,
more productive.
and less likely to quit.
That's a win-win for everyone.
Big time. It really shows how OBHRM research, even just that tiny bit that focuses on policy,
It can make a difference.
it can change things for the better, for real.
Yeah.
It's almost like we need, some kind of matchmaking service
Matchmaking.
for researchers and, like, the people making policies, a way to connect the folks with all the knowledge, the folks who can actually use it.
I like that. That's a great analogy. It really highlights the need for, like, better communication between academia and,
The real world.
the real world.
So maybe it's conferences where researchers can, like, present their findings directly to HR people, or maybe like some online platform where policymakers can easily search for research.
That's a good idea. It's got to be easy to find and use, right?
Totally. And it feels like there's a real opportunity here,
To create something that's helpful for everyone, yeah.
for the whole field of OBHRM, for workplaces.
If we can make that connection stronger between research and policy,
It's like we're creating a system where,
evidence-based practices become the norm.
yeah, and that leads to better workplaces overall.
Absolutely. Better for employees, better for organizations.
So I think we've given our listener a lot to think about today.
Yeah, definitely.
They came to us wanting to know how OBHRM research actually impacts those real-world policies.
The ones that affect their work lives.
And we've looked at that from all these different angles.
We saw how that connection can be weak sometimes, right? Leading to policies that, don't really make sense.
They're not grounded in the research.
But then we also saw the potential. When research does inform policy, it can be amazing.
More effective practices, happier employees, more productive workplaces,
More whole package.
and hopefully our listeners walking away from this feeling,
More knowledgeable, more curious about this stuff.
and maybe even a little empowered to, advocate for change.
In their own workplaces, yeah.
That'd be great, to take what they've learned and actually put it into action.
That's what it's all about.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, exploring the world of OBHRM research and how it shapes, sometimes secretly, those workplace policies.
It's been a great conversation.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.